Okay, so this is our next update for the garden tour. This is July 3rd, 2017. So we'll take a tour of the garden here and see how things have progressed. You can see our irises are all finished blooming now, but taking their place in the front ring here are lemon drop primrose. And they're quite pretty. They last quite a while, spread fairly fast, and in the fall the leaves will get quite a nice tinge of kind of a fire red to them. We've also got some orange impatiens that you can see peeking around the corners along the base. I don't know whether they'll amount to anything or not, or whether the edge of grass there will choke them out. Have our Maltese cross in bloom. I think suffering a little bit from the heavy shade here, so we'll probably move him out of there because he's stretching towards the light on this side of the bed. So are the daylilies, which are just getting ready to flower. They should be blooming in a week or two, along with the Monarda, starting to form buds. The sedum is starting to bud up. We've got the yellow stonecrop sedum coming out here. That's a color you don't see very often in a stonecrop sedum, mostly in the creeping sedums and that. Our lupins are done blooming, letting them go to seed because they're of course only about a 5-year perennial life cycle. So got to let a few seeds drop where they will and have some more plants for future. Our bamboo is looking good. It's enjoying this spot. It's liking the shade. It's about twice the size of what it was last year from a height standpoint. Still not quite as full as I'd like, but bamboo is wispy to begin with. Our lovage seems to be doing all right as well. Not as tall as I've seen it, but better than where it was. Maybe just a little more sun would be of benefit to it, but it seems to be spreading out, so we'll leave it here for now and see what happens. Our burgundy perennial geraniums are finished blooming on their first shot, although we will wait and see if we get another run. We did get another run of buds last year. That looks like could be more flower buds there coming. So I don't know whether to trim it back a little bit, cut the seed heads off and see if it'll flower again, or just to let it do its thing. We did have it drop a few seedlings around the yard in the flower bed here, so which I've transplanted. A few of them seem to be doing okay. I'll show you those in the video here a little later. So we might let it go to seed and see if that happens again. And our garlic chives are going to seed. So we got a few good little cuts off of that. Now our other perennial geraniums that we bought are not happy at all here. Had a little pink flowered guy here that seems to have been smushed down by all the rain we've been getting. But so I don't know whether he needs to move to a little sunnier spot or not. I think so. And our burgundy leafed one that should be blue flowers is showing a little new foliage. If this will focus, there we go, but absolutely no flowers on it this year. But this is its first year in, so we'll see what happens. Our dark leaf stonecrop sedum cutting has taken a halt. A little bit of fuzz or whatnot from something else on there, but it looks like it's doing okay. Then we were over to our next bed here. The hostas here are doing fine. We've got a little more lemon drop primrose there at the end. We come out of Guelph off of Gordon Street up Clare, heading towards Arkle. There's a lady there that sells perennials and bicycles on the side of the road. And coming back from there, had to stop and picked up a few odds and sods. Another perennial geranium. It's a really nice pink color. It seems to be doing all right here. And a blue flowered one, which we've got tucked in there. We've got our Rose of Sharon, which we cut back hard this spring, but it's leafed out fine. Starting to show flower buds here, so we might get something in the way of flower out of it this year. It's done okay in this spot, but it really does need more heat and sun to do its best. Now, speaking of doing its best, we've got our northern or eastern catalpa, or commonly referred to as Indian bean tree because of its long bean-like pods, which you can see some hanging there from last year. It's filling out a really nice canopy. Here we're kind of doing a three-way topiary ball sort of a style with the main tree going up, and I'm going to keep it trimmed fairly tight, and then a few side ball branches here, and I'll see if I can zoom in to the flower buds. There we go. And it's loaded really good on this top run with flower buds. We might get some on these lower runs later on, we'll see. If we do, that would be an excellent bonus, because they are quite nice, large clusters of white flowers with purple spots in them. Hopefully we'll do a video later on with those. Our perennial geranium that we bought with the other two in the other bed is coming along quite nice. It gave us a good flower show, and it finished, put on a little bit of new foliage, and now we'll see if it will rebloom for us. Our dwarf Monarda, or bee balm, is pretty much the same size as when we bought it. Hasn't moved. It's certainly keeping up to its dwarf name. It seems to be budding out, so it should be quite interesting to see how it goes. One of our hostas, Lakeside Paisley print. Not a bad looking hosta. And we've got, this is our bed that we tore up here in the spring that you'll remember from our other videos. Still fairly bare. I like to kind of pick and choose perennials as I go through the season, tucking things in and see what comes available. Speaking of what come available, more flowers from that spot in Guelph there. When I picked this one up, the lady asked me about 3 or 4 times if I was sure I wanted this, pretty much because of its aggressive form of spread. But I've got lots of space, and it is quite attractive. We've got a spiderwort here that, again, they asked me, you know, that's not a daylily, right? I says, yeah, I know it's not a daylily. I know exactly what it is. That's why I picked it up. It was in the pots of daylilies, some more evening primrose. And then this one was labeled as perennial marigold. But of course this is a Marguerite daisy. Another fairly aggressive one. But we've had these before. They're very nice. Spreads out into a big ferny shrub. Beautiful. And then this guy here is a wild aster. I believe it's a purple one. Just grew up wild there a couple years ago, and I let it do its thing. This year I pinched all the top out, so bushed it out quite a bit. So we'll see if that increases the amount of flowers. And here's our big troublemaker here, Japanese lily beetle, course, right on my tiger lilies. Eating all the holes in the leaves. Nothing but trouble. We'll give a little trouble for him later on. We got to try to get rid of them, but it's been an uphill battle for sure. Now these are not the native tiger lily. These are a tame tiger lily, if you will. They have these little bulblets along the stems. That's how you know the difference. Wild tiger lilies do not reproduce by bulblets, but by underground runners, where these little bulblets will actually grow little roots and little leaves and drop to the ground, or can be planted in the ground and will come up as new tiger lilies. We got our fern we transplanted, doing good. Another grab from the Guelph locale. Some more hostas. And we tore out most of our peach leaf creeping bellflowers, but we left a little clump here, which are blooming really nice, and we'll let them spread into a big cluster. Trade some of those off later. And we've got our hosta in our big cement planters. Not doing bad. We'll give them a couple of years to see how they go. The Royal Standard over here is flowering, or getting ready to flower, I should say. Big juniper tree. And then our big run of hosta at the shady wet side of the house is doing very, very well. I want to look into doing some different colors along here, some chartreuse ones, some blue leafed ones, variegated, etc. Right now the majority of these are the Royal Standard, and you can see they're starting to send up some flower shoots. Main reason they're here is to keep the Herb Roberts, this little pink guy here, which is actually a perennial geranium, is to keep him from going too aggressive everywhere, because he don't smell too good. He's a native here, and this whole side of the house was pretty much all Herb Roberts before I started planting the hosta. And these are the ones we planted out in the spring in our spring video. They're doing quite well, right down to there. So we'll wait and see how they do and what they do, and maybe in the fall or next spring we'll get some other variations in here. I've got a couple of White Patriot hosta here, which are getting smothered. You can see them underneath there. So maybe we'll dig them up and split them up and move them down. Our one of our Japanese maple. We've got some geranium in here that need deadheaded badly. And this is our Pinnacle hydrangea, which we cut back hard this year. It's pretty aggressive with it. Don't know whether it was gonna take or not, but it certainly did. Now I've fallen prey into the old story of, well, let's see if it'll flower. What I should have been doing is pinching these tips out here and letting it thicken up instead of getting these great big long stalks off the main, and making it more of a thicker shrub for next year. That's the thing with perennials, it's a long-term game, but it's gone that far now. We'll let it see if it's going to flower. Some of the lower branches I did pinch, you can see here, cut them off. So there's where we cut in the spring, and we got our side shoots. And now I don't know whether the camera will pick up that guy there in the V-notch, but that's another branch coming up to help thicken things up. And there's our little Annabelle pink hydrangea transplant, doing good. Looks a little droopy. The sun is out here. It's 10:30, 11 o'clock in the morning, So our big pink hydrangea is looking like it needs a drink really badly, but it will perk right up in the afternoon once the sun goes around the corner. This is doing absolutely amazing this year. It overwintered quite well, and we've been putting the water to it all spring because it is dry under the eave here, and hydrangeas are known as water pigs. But just load it with pink blooms this year because we didn't add any aluminum sulfate, and our ground is naturally lime based here, so we're getting pink this year. But we could turn this guy blue with some acidifier, aluminum sulfate or anything like that, watered in the spring. We might try that next year, see how it goes. Some more hosta, little chartreuse in there, some green and the big blues. Really nice big leaf blue here, coming along good. Gonna be some nice flowers on it, and our matching Japanese maple at the other end of the bed. Now this is our daffodil bed, which now just looks like overgrown weeds and grass. I put some tall and medium bearded iris in there this summer, late spring, early summer. So that'll give us a little bit of color after the daffodils bloom next year. And then I'm thinking of some of the yellow primrose in here, something for some color now. And then I'll need some late fall color. Maybe some nice daylilies would work there as well. Our geraniums, doing good. Lots of buds on them and that. And try to stay out of the sun here so I don't cast a shadow. Lots of buds, but our main flowers are getting beat up pretty badly by the rain. It's been raining every other day here this spring and summer, which is good for the grass and everything else that likes the rain, making it grow well, but not giving us the full impact for our flowers, that's for sure. Long shot of the front of the house bed there. And we've got our impatient planter, which is just exploding with color, doing amazing. Nice Tropicana mix, super elfin impatiens in there. And we got our long bed here that we planted, again all in the mixed tropical color impatiens, and kind of scratched around there to get a few weeds out. And we've got the large gopher purges coming up here, which kind of take away from the overall look of the bed, so I think we're going to have to cut those down because they're getting quite tall. Well, up in the raised flower bed, this one's as tall as I am, so they're going to have to get chopped down. We've got them other places. Don't know if it's worth the time to dig them out and move them. They're not going to transplant too well at this time of year, so we'll see. Little tricolor Wandering Jew there. And we've got the columbine finishing in spots here. I just want to let it go to seed, and then I'll cut it back as well to let things kind of do their thing in the flower bed here. Now the one thing I can say about all this rain is the lamium is absolutely loving it. This is Beacon Silver variety of lamium, and this is the third set of flowers that it's had on it so far this year. For a perennial, it's coming close to an everbloomer at this point. Now, it's certainly not as full and fluffy as it was in the spring. You'll notice from our earlier videos it was almost twice this height. The rain has flattened it down quite a bit, but the cooler temperatures in that is also allowing it to go into bloom for a third time. So potato there. There is our dahlias planters. We planted those up, 4-pack dahlias that we bought in our greenhouse hop, and they've filled out the planters great, just starting to bud up and get some flower bloom on them. Little coleus there, Alabama Sunset poking through. There's our snowball bush It's out of bloom now. We'll trim it back hard again this year, keep it in size. And our vegetable bed, see, we've been another cut in the lettuce. Probably about, I don't know, 15 or 16 cuts on this patch of lettuce so far. Again, cool, wet, and rainy. Lettuce's dream year. And our way too thick tomato plants, which we're going to have to try to figure out how to tie up, because with all this rain they're definitely going to flop over. Put some stakes in and some tomato clips again, or at least try. We've got really good crop of tomatoes coming on them, more flowers, so we should be in real good shape there if we can keep them from rotting. Early Girl is the main variety in here, and there is some Jet Star as well. I'm partial to Better Boy, but couldn't find any of those guys this year, so that's what we get. Then we've got the giant Japanese knotweed, which has got to come out this year. I put it in here because it's a closed-in flower bed. It's a raised bed, and hoping that it would contain it, because it is quite aggressive. And it's a great looking plant if it wasn't so aggressive. The stems look like bamboo. They're huge here. They die to the ground every year. This is all just one season's of growth. But the concern is now, with it being up against the garage, that it's going to get up into the foundation and get up into the walls and that. So I think before it goes to flower and that, I have to hook onto it with the chain and the front end loader and pull it out. And I don't know whether to try to save it, maybe get an old bathtub or something to work as a flower planter to put it in. That was kind of my first thought. We've got an old claw bathtub up at the farm. Maybe plant it in it, put a couple drainage holes in it and see what happens. But we'll see, time will tell. And then our clematis, just amazing. Not sure on the variety of this, but super aggressive climber, super aggressive flowers, everything you could possibly want in a clematis. We're gonna have to cut this guy down because he's literally pulling the old wooden trellis away from the wall. We'll cut him back this fall, and the plan is to refresh this bed, put a few other climbers against the wall here, and build a new retaining wall on this bed because it's just wood. Move into stone, and then let this guy climb up again and do his thing. It's some native fiddlehead ferns and our rose bush. And you've seen some pictures of this if you follow me on Instagram or Facebook. This is a old garden rose. My grandmother had this rose in her wedding bouquet, and she took the cuttings that were in the bouquet and rooted them, and this is what we get. And it's a climber, and you can't tell that by its size right now because it's fairly low to the ground right now, but this is its first year, full year in this new location. It had a hard time digging it up and moving it from the other place, but it seems to be doing its thing, and I'm hoping it'll carry on. We are getting some growth vertical here now, so got to get the thistles dug out. And this is our perennial cardinal climber. We put some chicken wire up around the post here and have been feeding this guy up and through the chicken wire to try to get him to climb up there, and he seems to be following orders and suiting, moving up. I don't think we'll get much in the way of bloom this year, but we'll see what happens next year. Never know. Still a couple of months here yet. And our daylilies through here are going to be out in full bloom pretty soon. There is our tri-colored dapple willow. I don't know if you can see the coloring too good in the shadows here. And a few more lupins in bloom here. Biggest problem with this flower bed, it's very, very damp. And because it's so damp, we get a lot of jewelweed come up here. which is in the impatient family actually, and its sap is the cure to get rid of the itch of poison ivy. And the two usually grow in the same area. Luckily we haven't come across any poison ivy yet, so we're good there. Some more of our big blue leaf hosta transplants. They just went in a week or two ago and everything's kind of closed in around them. I think they'll be very happy here. Got a nice coloring on the hosta there. Another big Royal Standard. A big clump of fuchsia, violet, fuchsia pink, monarda there, getting ready to bloom. So hopefully the rain doesn't knock it down. And then we've got our firecracker loosestrife, which has a nice purple tone to the leaf and little yellow flowers. It needs more sun than what it gets here, but it's a good holding spot until I find another sunny spot for it. Another big blue hosta. Very happy this one's out in bloom now. White flowers on this particular one, and again, big leaves. You know, very close to sum and subsidence sort of leaf size there. So be able to divide it next year. Place looks just like more of a pile of weeds than anything. I haven't gotten back to really hardcore weed this one. This is another old fragrant own root rose. This is Chantilly number 5. And we had a climbing white iceberg in here as well. It's still in here, but it's finished blooming already. We kind of missed it. And some Astasiatic lilies. And again, there is our old friend, the Japanese lily beetle. There we come into focus. Unfortunately, with the elimination of King Bug Killer potato dust here sold in Ontario, anything with 2,4-D in it, they've banned the use of, so we don't have a good combat for that. Diatomaceous earth doesn't seem to do the trick, but we'll keep trying. If anybody out there in Gardenland's got a good plan for those guys, I'd like to hear about it. And there's our azalea. Had a hard winter this year, so we only got one bloom out of it, but we're getting some good foliage there. And some big juicy flower buds on this daylily. This is a big pink guy here, so it's going to be exciting to see what comes of it. There's a little Stella d'Oro fighting for survival in there, and I think this might be a mulberry, but I'm not 100% sure. It come up in so many flowers, can't remember what I planted and what I didn't, but I've let it do its thing and we'll see. Play the waiting game. A little golden leaf spirea in there. We got to get back here. I've got to get back here and weed this. Make some more room. I think I'm going to move a lot of the hosta back here, focus on hosta. And we'll see how our Annabelle hydrangea does that we moved in here and go from there. There's the recovery on our burning bush, which got mowed. There's the recovery on our burning bush, which got mowed totally to the ground by the rabbits last year. Ate the bark all the way around it. But luckily, they left a couple of inches and it's recovered quite nicely, actually. You can see how thick it was. So it was kind of sad that well, it was very sad, disappointing to see it cut down. But lesson learned, have to get him wrapped up better next year, or at all. He was forgotten about last year. Our 5-way grafted apple trees are looking all right, although I do have to decide on some pruning on these guys this winter, because I've got branches going every which way, and that's going to cause problems later on. Once we get the apples off these, I think we're going to be pinning them down, figuring out what to do with them. We got a few apples on this guy. This guy was a heavy producer its first year last year. Not quite as heavy this year, but again with the rain, maybe the bees weren't out to the blossoms as much. I'd say there's only about a half a dozen apples on here, give or take. There's some white flowering peach leaf bellflower. We've got to get him moved. And we've got some purple, the more common purple peach leaf bellflower. This is the back side of the tomato bed. And our other 5-way combo apple tree. And again, some apples on it. But not overly loaded, but I think we need to get again into some more aggressive pruning techniques. They're only 4 years old, so we were kind of letting them do their thing until they got established, but I think we're at that point now where we can start shaping them as needed. Now here are our cucumber tires. Number 1. This is Market More 76 is the variety of cucumber, and number 2, which gets a little more light and as you can see is a little more happy, but much better than our cucumbers up at the house. Same seed, about 75-80% germination here, less than 20, less than 10 at the garden up at the farm. Not sure about the seed on it, what the story was there. When we come along here, we've got another type of species impatient. But this one, like the jewelweed, but instead of orange flowers, it's much thicker stalked. My hand down there for comparison. Much thicker stalked, much taller, can be as tall as 7-8 feet, and has pink lady slipper like flowers on it. Same sort of exploding seed pods like regular impatiens that you'd buy in the store, bedding impatiens. So the seed flies everywhere, so they can become somewhat aggressive, but they're not hard to pull out, so no loss there. And our grapevines are doing surprisingly well, having to hack them out of their old home with an axe, and that after they were given to us. But the leaves that were on them, the vines coming out at the top, doing good, showing new growth there. And what's so exciting is new growth along the big woody vine. So super excited to see that happening. And all 3 of them are doing the same. And even the one that had absolutely no leaves on it, no way we thought was this thing gonna come back. But lo and behold, we got a bud and we got a vine. So there's promise there. Our beans up at the garden didn't do anything, so last week we put another row of beans up here. A couple rows actually. Yellow wax bean. So hopefully these will do a little better. And we'll try to figure out what the problem is in the garden for next year. Our allium is all finished. Just the seed heads now left. Nice Japanese maple. And we've got black currant here if anybody is interested in a black currant bush. I think I'm going to have to get rid of this guy. I don't have a good home for him. So he's gonna be moving on, I think. We'll see. Another big blue hosta, doing well. Littler chartreuse green, another little blue, and another big blue. And then more rows of Sharon, both blue or purple flowered and white flowered here. Buds starting to come on them. They get a lot more sun here, so we'll see how they go. This is kind of our holdover bed. Row of perennials that you can't see for the weeds. We got to get in there. Our garlic that me and my nephew planted Not looking too hot right now, but we'll see next year what it does. And row of dwarf yellow iris in storage till we find a home for them. Another row of beans. Still spotty germination, so I'm still thinking I might have a seed issue. And our super lame giant Atlantic pumpkin. One there, and watch your eyes, whoa, and one there. That did absolutely nothing. Only 2 out of 10 germinated up at the garden, and these 2 I brought down here, and super disappointed the last 2 years with that. So we're gonna have to do some reorganization, some planning on that. Got our dry shade bed here with our new hosta transplants in it. Not doing too bad. A little bit of lovage there coming along, Solomon seal and a bleeding heart. So far so good. And then we've got our Lamium Archangel's Pride, which is finished blooming but still has this amazing silver variegated foliage on it. We got 3 or 4 of them floating around here, so I'm really happy with it. Our mock orange is finished blooming, so time to trim it back. And our windflower is done. It's all gone to its kind of fuzzy seed pods, so we'll cut that back and get rid of some weeds there. That's the one thing with gardening there, you're always weeding. Another clematis. Another different blue leaf hosta. And a really fine cut foliage Japanese maple. And another nice variegated hosta. And we got a transplant in here of our barnyard sunflower, which we're super excited. It's a Rudbeckia, big double-bulbed Rudbeckia from the farm. So really excited to see what it'll do next year for us. Some stonecrop sedum up on the rock. Seems to be surviving, probably only because of all the rain we've been getting. And our Doris strain hydrangea, just getting ready. It's an Annabelle type, just getting ready to bloom. And this is our Sum and Substance hosta. So just kind of for comparison on leaf size to our big blue one there, I would say we're pretty close to the same. So nice big leaves on it as well. Although so far not as near as aggressive as the blue one. And one of our Japanese maples there, they unfortunately got mowed down by the rabbits last year and suckered back up, but I believe it's coming back from the wild graft, so it's coming back green instead of red, but that may be due to the shade it's in here. We'll see. Nice purple guys there. We've got our Coleus potted up. 2 out of 3 there and 3 out of 3 there, so not too bad. And our very funky colored French marigolds in with the Alabama Sunset hosta, and give that pot a turn to the light, because our another species impatient here is self-seeded, is kind of shading them down. And we'll finish off with our burgundy clematis, if we can see in the sun there. There we go. They're flowering right nice. So that's it for our garden tour today. Let us know what you think in the comments section, and don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Green Thumb Alliance.